Woosah.
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 Woosah, woosah, woosah.
Woosah. Woosah. Woosah. Woosah.
Woosah. Woosah. Woosah.
Woosah. Everyone just take a breath. Breathe. Woosah. Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, with new episodes weekly presented by Bolen Media. I'm Ross Bolen, and now that we've had a few days to process what occurred in the divisional round, let's take a minute to evaluate this Texans season on the whole, and then we can talk Rockets basketball. First, our Texans post-mortem. Obviously, that was not the end result the Texans or their fans wanted. That should go without saying. Around mid-season, when it became abundantly clear that the Texans' defense was the real deal and that the competition this season wouldn't be particularly stiff in the AFC, the expectation became a conference championship. Because they didn't reach the AFC championship, you have to consider the season at least a little bit of a disappointment. And because we now know we would have been facing the Broncos' backup quarterback, and because of the way we lost to the Pats, it sucks significantly more. That being said, we have to be objective here. I'm not making excuses for CJ Stroud. He was awful in the playoffs. No doubt he was terrible, and he has to be better. But against the Patriots, CJ Stroud didn't have his number one wide receiver in Nico Collins. He didn't have Dalton Schultz once he went down. Right tackle Trent Brown was out. Tackle Titus Howard got banged up during the game. Tank Dell missed the entire season. No RB1 either because Joe Mixon missed the entire season. And when all of those things are combined and considered, we honestly had no business going to the AFC Championship if we're being real. It doesn't make it suck any less. It's still okay to be angry about the offensive showing, and that's a double entendre, but too much went wrong. Too many key pieces were injured. You can't win a Super Bowl when your lead running back, Woody Marks, has 17 yards on 14 attempts. That's 1.2 yards per carry, okay? Chubb had 14 yards on 4 attempts. Stroud had 11 yards rushing on 2 attempts. Stover had 6 yards on 2 attempts. That's 48 total rushing yards on 22 attempts, 2.2 yards per carry. That is not getting the job done, okay? So in evaluating this season, you have to be really honest about one thing. Whatever happened with Joe Mixon in the offseason that caused him to be out the entire year, it ended up really boning this team. If you're a defensive-minded football team looking to ride your defense to victory, you absolutely must have a productive rushing attack on offense to be able to control the pace, eat clock, keep your offense on schedule, and take the pressure off your struggling quarterback. I wouldn't expect to see Joe Mixon with the Texans next season, considering what happened this season. You release him, he already has all his guaranteed money, you save many millions of dollars in cap space, and you find a new running back. Do they draft another running back? Do they trade? Do they work free agency? These are Nick Caserio problems. And fixing the running game should be high on the list of priorities for Nick Caserio this offseason. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know every time we drop a new episode. Throw us a like on this video and leave a comment in the comment section when one occurs to you over the course of today's show. If you're on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and write a quick review about why you like our show. If you're on Spotify, we'll take a 5-star rating there as well. Please and thank you. The offensive line is another obvious area for improvement this offseason. They cobbled together what they could this season. I thought offensive line coach Cole Popovich did a great job with the personnel he was afforded, and the back half of the season in particular, the offensive line was solid. But in the end, there was not enough depth for them to remain solid when injuries mounted. The O-line got dominated, thoroughly and utterly owned by the Patriots' defensive front all game long. If you want CJ Stroud to be able to focus on finding open receivers, if you want him to find comfort in the pocket again, which we haven't seen since his rookie season, really, if you want to compete in the playoffs against good teams with good defenses, you're going to need a deeper and more complete offensive line. Period. Full stop. That is the case. There is no way around that. All right? Again, I'm not making excuses for CJ Stroud. All the CJ Stroud headhunters are out there. It was all on him. It's not all on him. There were a lot of other issues. Whether or not you want to admit those issues is completely up to you. That's your thing. But the offensive line was dog shit against the Patriots. Terrible. Okay? And you can't have that if you want to win a Super Bowl, if you want to make a conference championship for the first time in franchise history, if you want to get a win in the divisional round for the first time in franchise history, you can't have a bad offensive line. And that was a bad offensive line in the game against the Patriots in Foxborough. Admit it to yourself, make sense of it, make peace with it, okay? That's it. Again, they've got draft capital, and they've got the ability to navigate free agency, so this is a Nick Caserio problem, and it's one he has had all 3 years in the DeMeco Ryans era, and it's an area that most Texans fans, myself included, have been disappointed in. They have to invest more in the offensive line, and they have to do it now. Not next season, now. Let's talk about the receivers for next season. You're getting Tank Dell back, which could be absolutely huge for this team if he can stay healthy. Tank is incredible, and we have seen what the chemistry between him and C.J. Stroud looks like when he is healthy. But he's a little fella, and through 3 full seasons in the NFL, he has been injured most of the time as a result. You have to keep him healthy. Nico Collins is reaching Yordan Alvarez levels of regularly missing time. You can expect Nico to miss a few games every season. That's where we're at, and that's not great when he's your wide receiver number 1. So Nico Collins, you need him healthy. Tank Dell, you need him healthy. Then you've got Jaden Higgins, who should continue to improve and find his game. He was your second leading receiver behind Christian Kirk in the postseason. Christian Kirk should be gone, by the way, and I just want to repeat that. Our second leading receiver in the postseason behind Christian Kirk, who did jack shit all regular season, was Jaden Higgins. So again, I'm not making excuses for C.J. Stroud, but I'm stating facts here. That's the receiving core in the postseason. Christian Kirk is your leading receiver, followed by Jaden Higgins, a rookie? He didn't have enough. With Nico out, with Schultz hurt in the second game, without a fully functioning running back, come on, guys. Let's be real. Let's admit these things. Then you've got Jalen Noel, who was targeted twice in the postseason and had 0 receptions. You have to hope that guy grows into his game more next season. Xavier Hutchinson and, of course, tight end Dalton Schultz. That should be plenty. It should be plenty of receiving talent for C.J. Stroud to work with. But unfortunately, you're heavily reliant on Nico and Tank staying healthy and the rookies from this season continuing to grow. Okay? That's our situation with the receivers. Nick Caley, offensive coordinator. This was his first season in the role of offensive coordinator ever. You have to hope that dude is significantly more comfortable in his role next season as well. You have to hope him and CJ work their fucking asses off this offseason to get on the same page and have much, much, much more momentum and efficiency within the offense next season. Because look, there's no reason to doubt that DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio are going to have a stout defense. They may not be as dominant of a number 1 defense as they were this season, or maybe they will be, who knows. But we know they're going to have a damn good defense, and the defense is going to give us a chance to win damn near every game. So if you can build a competent, doesn't have to be explosive, doesn't have to be top 5. If you can just have an average or slightly above average offense, you're going to win most of your games. That's the situation. So right now, yes, it sucks. Because this postseason felt like the same old shit, the same disappointment, if not worse than usual. But the truth is, the franchise is in a pretty good spot. They don't have to extend C.J. Stroud if they don't want to, which they shouldn't. We'll see what happens. And the rest of the issues this team had are pretty straightforward. Hard to win without an RB1. Hard to win in the playoffs on the road in dog shit weather without a number 1 option at wide receiver, or a clear-cut number 2 option at wide receiver, or a number 1 tight end, or a fully functioning offensive line. Your quarterback played the worst game of his life. So you move forward, learn from your mistakes, and build in the offseason. That's football. Now let's talk shooty hoops. It's officially basketball season. The Rockets got a much-needed win, huge win against the San Antonio Spurs on Tuesday night, which took some of the pain off the Texans' loss, at least for me personally, only to immediately lose Steven Adams to injury indefinitely with a grade 3 ankle sprain, and then lose a very winnable game to the 76ers on the road last night. Brutal. This is Houston. God left this place a long time ago. The negative energy of Texans' disappointment has transferred over to the Rockets fandom, and now I'm seeing people calling for Ime Udoka's head and proposing ludicrous trades for Giannis Antetokounmpo because we've lost 5 of our last 10 games. Listen to me closely, Rockets fans. Calm down. Woo-sa. We are the 4 seed in the West in a stacked Western Conference with a record of 26 wins and 16 losses. We don't have a starting point guard because Fred VanVleet is out. Now we don't have a starting center because Steven Adams is out. He was only playing the first game of back-to-backs anyway, and the team is going through some shit, no doubt. But let's not panic and act like absolute morons. Come on. The Rockets had a hot start to the season. Things haven't looked all the way how we'd hoped since then, and the frustration is understandable. But calling for Ime's head, that's insanely reactive. It just seems short-sighted and weird. Now, I'm not arguing that Ime Udoka is not struggling, because I think Ime Udoka is struggling. I think he's frustrated. These are not the personnel he expected to be working with. He worked for 2 seasons to establish a team with a defensive identity that was one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. He did a great job of it. He took us out of the basement and got us back into playoff contention. And then we made a big trade. We brought in Kevin Durant, and it changed the landscape of this team, especially the starting lineup. You lose Dylan Brooks, you lose Jalen Green in that trade. Things are different now. Ime has different people to work with. Then your Fred VanVleet situation in the offseason. Now suddenly you've got no point guard. You've got no offensive captain. You've got no leadership in that role that you thought you were going to have, that you had last season, that worked incredibly well for you last season. That was arguably one of the most important players on the team last season in Fred VanVleet. He's gone. That's a huge hole to fill. And with Ime, he's so fixated on being a defensive juggernaut and having this defensive identity that he has struggled to alter his expectations, which is why you're seeing the issues you're seeing with Reed Sheppard. Reed Sheppard undoubtedly having a what do you call it? A come up, a breakout. That's what I'm looking for. Reed Sheppard undoubtedly having a breakout season. Okay, he's getting the playing time. He's showing us what he's capable of. He is Cocaine Curry when he is given the opportunities. Unfortunately, Ime Udoka does not trust Reed Sheppard enough defensively to leave him out there in key moments like in overtime last night against the 76ers. And we paid for it. Reed Sheppard is one of 2 people on this team who can consistently shoot a basketball well. That's not good. But it's Kevin Durant, obviously, and it's Reed Sheppard. Those are the shooters, man. Those are the guys that can consistently shoot well. Game in, game out, you can expect them to nail jump shots. That's kind of it. Everybody else, it comes and goes. Jabari, it comes and goes. Even Şengün, it comes and goes. Some games, Şengün looks incredible behind the arc. Other games, I pray that he'll never shoot another three-pointer because it's brick city out there. He looks ridiculous. So you've got 2 people who are really good shooters in Kevin Durant and Reed Sheppard. Unfortunately, one of them, Kevin Durant, is an outstanding defender who locked down Wemby like nobody's ever seen on Tuesday. And the other one is a 6'2" white guy named Reed Sheppard, who really struggles on defense when he's targeted, which is all too often. I saw a take on Twitter that I agree with. Why doesn't Ime Udoka go watch game tape from the Warriors dynasty run with Steph Curry at the helm? Steph Curry got targeted by every offense also. He was terrible defensively. He was their clear weak link, and as such, teams attacked him consistently. So they had to find ways to hide Steph Curry when they were on defense. That's what you have to do with Reed Sheppard. You have to make peace with the fact that he's not the greatest defender, mostly because of his size. He has fantastic hands. He's just too small. He's not tall enough, okay? He's getting targeted by, if somebody's 6'8", you got 6 inches on Reed, that's enough. And 60, 80, 100 pounds on him, it's too much. He's not going to be able to guard everybody, obviously. But he's an incredible scorer, and he's been effective running the offense by and large. He doesn't turn the ball over nearly as much as Kevin Durant or Jabari Smith Jr., I'll tell you that shit. That's just with the eye test. I'm not reading stats. But Ime is going to have to make peace with the fact that Reed Sheppard is not a lockdown defender like Ime would love to have in the point guard role, but he is a great scorer and a really good shooter, arguably a great shooter. You got to have that guy on the court in big moments, and he has not trusted him to be on the court, and I understand the frustration there from Rockets fans for sure. Ime is going through it. You can tell he's going through it. He's having a hard time figuring out the identity of this Rockets team in the absence of Fred VanVleet, in the absence of Steven Adams now, without Dylan, Brooks as your sort of defensive anchor and your tone setter. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, it's one of the areas the Rockets are lacking. There's not a real tone setter on this team. KD sets the tone offensively. He tries to set it defensively, but it doesn't really work. But when I say tone setter, I'm talking more about mentality, aggression levels, intensity. And Kevin Durant doesn't really bring that to the other guys. He focuses mostly on trying to bring that to Reed Shepherd, it seems like. It's like his little pet, his little white boy pet that he keeps and pats on the head when he does a good job. But so because they don't really have a tone setter for the team on the whole, and because the identity of the team has shifted from this defensive identity to sort of a hybrid now between offense and defense, Ime Udoka's having a hard time, but you have to give him the opportunity to iron it out. The Rockets are also last in the NBA in free throw shooting in January. On the season, they are the 26th best free throw shooting team out of 30 teams. This continues to be a huge problem. If you make your free throws against the 76ers last night, you win that game. You didn't make them, so you lost the game. Point blank, period. That's been the case with this team for a couple seasons now. They were a bad free throw shooting team last season. It looked like this had improved at the beginning of this season. It turns out it really hasn't. So this team is having to rely on Kevin Durant to score 35 points a game. Kevin Durant's 37 fucking years old. That's obviously not ideal. Amen Thompson has quietly had a great last couple of weeks. Şengün is struggling over this past month. Jabari is hit or miss. Some games, I'm like, Jesus Christ, please cut his minutes in half. Other games, you can see why he's out there. It's his length, his ability to defend, for the most part, because offensively it's hit or miss. And that's why he's getting Reed Shepherd minutes in overtime and stuff like that. So there are issues. There are admittedly issues for the Rockets right now, but every team goes through stretches over the course of an NBA season where they deal with issues. How are you not trusting Ime Udoka to deal with the issues? That's my question. That's the thing I'm struggling to understand for people who are asking or calling Ime Udoka's competency into question or surmising that he might not be a good fit for this Rockets team. That shit strikes me as completely insane. We've been worshiping this guy for 3 straight seasons. The turnaround has been awesome. He's done a fantastic job. He's arguably one of the best coaches we've ever had as a franchise. And yet, a month of up and down struggles and inconsistency, and everybody's willing to punt on this guy? Get the fuck out of here. Look at the full picture. Look at the whole landscape of everything that's going on with this team. It doesn't all fall on him. It's his job to fix it, no doubt. It's his responsibility. He's at the helm. But still, you have to be real. Similarly to the way you have to be real about the Texans, you have to be real about your circumstances. And when you don't have a starting point guard, and you're not trusting the guy that could be your starting point guard because he is a defensive liability at times, depending on matchups, and you're relying on a 37-year-old to score 35 points a game, and your other up-and-coming star, Amen Thompson, can't shoot. He has to get all of his buckets at the rim. And you've had this big shift in identity, and now Steven Adams goes down, and the Western Conference is stacked. Yeah, man, it's tough out there. This is pro sports. This is the MB-fucking-A. And that's where we're at. They also turn the ball over too much, 21st out of 30 teams in turnovers, 14.5 per game. It's too many turnovers. Not enough assists. 23rd out of 30 teams there. Everywhere else, they're still a pretty damn good team, and they're fun to watch every night. It's very hit or miss, inconsistent, to use those words for the 15th time this episode. Because some nights you look like you're watching a Western Conference contender. Other nights you're looking like you're watching a play-in team. But that's so much better of a range than we used to be in, where it was praying to God that we might be a play-in team, and with the basement being we're one of the 5 worst teams in the league. So they have made a ton of progress. They have built a good team. I realize there's also a huge part of this is the sense of urgency because of Kevin Durant's age. And that is fair. Kade's getting up there. I'm in the same boat. When you start touching 40 years old or seeing it on the horizon, that shit is scary. So we don't have long here to capitalize on what is an unbelievable 37-year-old Kevin Durant. He is so much better than I expected and than I think anyone expected. But now, unfortunately, things have shifted. And where if you watched a couple of months ago, closer to the beginning of the season, when the Rockets were really rolling, KD only had to go out there and get 20 points a night. He was not having to press this or push the situation offensively all that often. He was able to just find his spots and act as more of a facilitator. But now, with the way things have gone over this past few weeks, you've seen more and more shots, more and more shooting, more and more games where he's got 30 plus, and he has to, because if he doesn't, no one else is. And that's where there's inconsistency in the role players. You know, everybody points to Jabari. He's the obvious one. Yeah, he's been inconsistent, but there's inconsistency with Reed Shepherd too as a result of him not getting as much playing time or playing in crucial moments. There's inconsistency from Amen Thompson, depending on how teams decide to handle him offensively, because he can't really shoot. And now Steven Adams going down. You're relying on Clint Capella to play more minutes and get you those offensive rebounds. They established this identity around being the best offensive rebounding team in the league, and that's obviously going to fall off with Steven Adams out. So there's a lot of adjustments to be made, but there's also a lot of time left in the season. I am not even close to hitting the panic button on the Rockets. I don't really get why the rest of you are so keen to slam your hand on it. Chill the fuck out, woosah, breathe. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. Remember, we have new episodes dropping weekly on youtube.com/@bangingthecan, as well as the podcast platforms. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, turn on notifications, leave a comment. If you're on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. If you're on Spotify, throw us a 5-star rating. Please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and your family. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads. I'm Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. Oh, man. What a week it's been. I'll be back Monday. Turn those notifications on, YouTube subscribers. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.